Welcome to Carbon to Iron Home Fusion. Do it yourself at home. Take two. So in the first experiment, I demonstrated creating iron particles using ordinary pencils. Of course, that wasn't a very scientific experiment. At the time, I wasn't really able to detect that much contamination in the lead pencils, but I didn't have very powerful magnets, and so I decided to redo things more rigorously. So first I figured out how to actually take the pencil lead out of the pencil by soaking it, and then I would test. Now I can test it to see whether it's magnetic, and actually this pencil lead is actually fairly magnetic. So it will actually be dragged along by the magnet here. It's that magnetic. And I was also able to crush it up into a powder, and then I was able to run the magnet underneath that, and it's actually fairly magnetic. So the first experiment I did probably really didn't prove anything, because pencil leads actually contain a fair amount of iron. So how do we do this experiment better? Well, I went to eBay and I bought what I thought was a pure graphite stirring rod. Okay, so now this thing isn't at least readily attracted to magnets, so that's better. So I also ground that up into a powder, and was testing it to see whether I could see any magnetic reaction, and even this supposedly pure graphite rod still has some fair amount of magnetic reactivity. So that was strike two. Then I had gotten some pure graphite powder, so this should be pure carbon. So now this didn't really seem to react at all under the magnet, under a magnet. But then I tested it even more carefully by, I would take my super strong magnet, stick it inside of a plastic bag, like so, and then I would run it over the powder, and then drop it on a paper, and then see if I could pick up any magnetic particle underneath. And even this, while small, still has a significant amount of magnetic particles. So the way I figured I would solve this is that I would try and take out as much or all of the magnetic particles that might be in the sample that I'm going to work with. So I just simply ran the magnet over this material until basically nothing came out of it. So I performed this procedure where I would take, this is basically my reaction vessel here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a spark between my two electrodes on the carbon here. So what I would do is I would test this by putting the magnet in the plastic bag, and I ran it over that reactor prior to doing any experiments, and I kept on doing it. I did it like 6 times, and it came out clean, so that I'm pretty sure there wasn't any magnetic particles left. Then I performed my experiment here, and by, like I said, I've got this connected to a 12-volt battery, by sparking it for a few moments. And then when I repeated the process of running the magnet over the carbon and checking it for magnetism, I did in fact find out that there were some particles that showed up as being magnetic. So I mean, this is the actual result. You probably can't see that, but there is actually some. This did create some magnetic particles, whereas previous 6 tries did not produce anything. So I think that this is much better evidence that this fusion reaction actually did happen, and although probably this experiment could be done better, since I still can't 100% guarantee that there wasn't any iron in it, even though I tried to remove as much as possible. But the results seem to be fairly dramatic. That in the run after I did the sparking, that we did immediately find large amounts of iron in the sample. So that's the end of version 2.